What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move with excellence. And it is October 2nd, so it is my second day posting a video this month. If you guys didn't see the one I posted yesterday, go check it out. It's about me being cell extracted in the ad seg in Salinas Valley. Was not a fun experience. I got the video out late, but yeah. Anyways, it's there. Go check it out. This one is a bit of a complicated story. It has a lot of layers to it, but I think I put it together in a way that's pretty easy to follow along with. And essentially what you have is this. An individual used to go by Drifter from 500 block in South San Francisco. Norteno street gang member, had gone to prison, was kind of on his way to becoming a somebody, at least in his own mind. Never actually became that person he claimed he became, but it is what it is. And he winds up becoming a federal informant, right, for a RICO indictment against street gang members. It wasn't even really a prison gang oriented RICO indictment, but it was on the heels of probably the most infamous mass shooting, if you will, in South San Francisco history. Red on red crime. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And so he tells, he didn't need to, right? But he tells, we'll take a look at his plea agreement, and you guys will kind of get to see how those are structured. He lied in that plea agreement, but the feds, let him, and so we'll get into some of that stuff. And then he goes, obviously, he can't hang out in the streets of South San Francisco anymore. And so apparently he goes to Reno and finds himself out here, gets strung out or was already strung out or who knows, and finds himself in a hotel room a couple years ago with a group of people, including an 18-year-old mother of two. I don't know exactly why she was there. She lost her life, so I'm not trying to speculate on that. I'm actually going to play some words from her mother at the end of this, who's now responsible for raising her kids. Finds himself in that hotel room. She passes away, right, from a gunshot wound to the head. So we'll get into that. He gets busted. It's a gruesome thing. It was all over the news out here in Reno. So anyways, there's a lot of layers to this, right? And I'm gonna show you guys a lot of stuff. But how I first learned of this little kind of interesting tidbit is I haven't had local TV in a long time. I live out here in Reno, and I haven't had it because I don't really need it. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch some of the streaming stuff. But with football season coming up, and with me being a Niners fan, my lady being a Raiders fan, must have. So got the NFL package through YouTube, and the first day I got it, I clicked it on. I turned on the local news, and I come across a story of Todd Tanaki, how the fuck you say his name? And and they're like, hey, he's on trial for, this hot one for this body. And that's not an everyday name. That's not Joe Smith or Leroy Brown, the baddest man in town, or Juan Gomez. It's not a name that you hear a lot. And I recognized that name, and I was like, man, could it be? Hold on. I thought that fool was off living an anonymous life somewhere, right after the shit that he did in South City. So I see the picture. I'm like, it looks awfully familiar. Poke around a little bit. Sure enough, it's him. And I was like, I'll be damned. But I did not want to put this out during the trial because I just didn't want to, right? I wanted to see how it ended. It has ended. He's not sentenced yet, but let's watch this clip and catch up a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
Well, it took 2 hours for a Washoe County jury to come back with
That's
a guilty verdict for a murder.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter, find the defendant, Todd Wayne Tanaki, not guilty of count 1, first-degree murder of Haley Nieto.
You see that?
Dated this 28th day of August,
not guilty.
2024.
But wait, there is more.
Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter, find the defendant, Todd Wayne Tanaki, guilty of count 1, second-degree murder of Haley Nieto.
Good.
And Todd Tanaki shot and killed Nieto in March of 2023 in an apartment in downtown Reno.
That's
Haley
her
Nieto's
body.
was cut at the knee to fit into a duffel bag, and she was dumped into the desert. The jury also found Tanaki guilty of intimidating a witness, preventing a person from testifying or producing evidence, among other charges. The trial lasted for a week and a half. The prosecution called on more than 2 dozens, while the defense called in 1 witness. Tanaki is expected to be sentenced sometime in December.
And I expect, right? My expectation is that he's gonna get life. He's like, I don't know, 40, 50 years old, whatever. So I expect him to get life. We will, obviously we will see. But so here is here's the paperwork, right? And we'll get into this in a second, but first to give you guys kind of a rundown of what had happened. So he's from this hood called 500 Block, which is in South San Francisco. They linked up with C Street, right? C Street been around for a long time. I've talked about them before. Had a lot of great relationships with C Street guys in the 80s even. Rest in peace to my homeboy Wino, Armando RC. So I have some familiarity with the area. And C Street is with the business. There's also a northerner clique in South San Francisco called Cypress Park Locals, right? CPL. And I'm probably, maybe some people getting their feelings about this. Back in the days, at least, when I was younger, right before I went to prison, Cypress Park was a bigger neighborhood. They had more people always, but you could run up on somebody from Cypress Park and sometimes they didn't want that smoke, But they go back and get their homeboys and come through deep. We all know people and hoods that are like that. So Cypress Park was bigger, but they had a lot of dead weight. And they had some people that were really about that life. C Street didn't really have dead weight. C Street, I'd take one dude from C Street against 5 dudes from Cypress Park any day, right? And so to give you an idea of how these neighborhoods worked, it was the same thing in San Mateo. West Side San Mateo was Northerners, and they were deep. And there were some fools from West Side that were with the business. Again, don't get me wrong. But 18th Street, when they were out there, West Side 18th Street in San Mateo, I'd take one 18th Street dude against 5 West Side dudes any day. And was in those situations, a good handful of times. And so, things change. 18th Street, I don't think is even so much of a factor in San Mateo anymore. And of course, red on red is frowned upon. Back then everybody could get it, from anybody. It didn't matter. But so there's a history of red on red though in South City between Cypress Park and 500 Block, because the Southsiders are not a really significant presence in the area, right? In particular in South San Francisco. You gotta go like San Bruno, whatever. Anyway, so what happens? So Todd Tanachi, aka Drifter, joins 500 Block. I don't have a history with 500 Block. I didn't really even learn about them, to be honest, until this case, because I was out there and around, outside of prison, of course, after prison, when all this went down. And so essentially what happens, and I can do a whole video about this one day if you guys want, right? But essentially what happens is, just short of Christmas in 2010, there's this dude, Michael Ortiz, and he had got some work from Cypress Park guys and said it was bunk. He didn't like it was bunk, whatever the case may be. Joey Ortiz, right, who's from, 500 Block C Street, decides, hey, we gonna get active. We're gonna press this issue. And so rolls up on Cypress Park dudes. I think it was 8th Lane, somewhere around there in South City. It's funny because Hector Bravo from that prison guard did a video. I don't remember what the video was, but he had done a video or a live or something some time ago. I think it was a live. And he talked about going to South San Francisco to visit, I think his ex-wife's or soon to be ex-wife's family or something. And there was like a vigil and there was Nortenos everywhere. And he was kind of on edge. I think timeline wise, he was around that area. But anyway, so 8th Lane, Joey Ortiz is out there. And they light those dudes up, right? Here, BG, Benjamin Campos, a bunch of guys light these dudes up, end the lives of 3 Cypress Park guys and wound 3 others. Okay, so it's a big deal. And so now there's an issue because it's red on red. So Bird, all them dudes, right? Those cats that wound up pleading out for like the Oakland, burning the Oakland apartment complex and stuff. This is at that time. So Bird from the NF, he was out in the area. He green lights Ortiz, right? Has saying Bowman is supposed to go handle it, but then those guys wind up getting snatched up on their Fed case, and people flipped in that. So that was sort of the deal. And this dude Drifter, 500 Block didn't have a lot of people that had gone to prison. Drifter had been to prison. He hadn't done real serious time. I know he was in Solano at one point, level 2, in Solano. But he thought he was that guy. And he had come through San Quentin. He had been around some people. So he was a big homie for 500 Block because of the prison time that he had done. And so, anyways, he gets busted for a violation. January 2011. So like less than a month, just a couple weeks after this shooting, he gets busted for a violation. And the nature of the violation is that he's outside his parole area. He had an ankle monitor, and the ankle monitor died or some shit. And anyways, he gets snatched up. So he's there like 6 months. And then local police decide to come talk to him, and they say, hey, we just want to question you. We're investigating this triple homicide that happened in South San Francisco. What you know about that? He's like, man, I wasn't even there. I was in Sacramento. I got busted like 2 weeks after that. I was nowhere near South City when that happened. They're like, yeah, but do you know anything about what could have transpired? And basically, he's like, hey, will you continue me on parole? Will you COP me? Right? It means continued on parole. I'm like, well, we don't know what you have to say. Tell you everything. What do I have to say? I have everything to say. And so he goes on to explain how, these dudes from 500 Block, they're calling me all the time. This is where this dude's hiding out. Joey Ortiz is dipped to Mex. His dad's helping him. He's got his girl over there. Like all kinds of stuff. And yeah, this is why the homicide happened. These were the people that were involved. Yes, they have some issues because it's red on red. I'm trying to get them cleared, but I got to be careful because I can't put my neck out on the line, yada, yada, yada. And I can tell you more, but like, what are you going to do for me? I don't want to be in jail anymore. Mind you, this is a dude doing a violation. He's facing a year tops, maximum of a year, 6 months in on it from what I understand. And he had nothing to do with the homicide, nothing to do with it whatsoever. But he heard about it, and people was on the phone with him. And after this conversation with law enforcement, where they just got giddy, they're like, man, hold on, who can we call? Hey, can we make some promises? Okay, hold on. Can we make some promises? Okay, the feds? Okay, let's talk to the feds. Can we do witness protection? What can we do? Like, because I'm imagining they were probably shocked at like, damn, this fool's really spilling all the beans. we didn't expect. And they had a lot of other people were talking already. He's not the only one, of course. There's rarely one snitch in these situations. But he was able to connect a lot of dots, and so yeah, he told. And and these guys wind up getting busted, and I think Joey got like life without. I think Ortiz got like 70 months or some shit, Mike Ortiz Sr. for helping hide his son in Mexico. And all those dudes got a boatload of time in the feds. I don't know what their situation is now. I don't know what their standing is now. It's not something I've kept up on. I did a lot of community work in South San Francisco, trying to patch that up, in the streets. And so they had a thing called the Safe Neighborhood Coalition, sort of. And it wasn't started by me, but when I was doing nonprofit work, I started doing contract work for the Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center, which was the organization that got the contract to do that. And so we were over there at Morelos Hall. If anybody from South City, Morelos Hall. And I had moved the meetings over there from City Hall because I was like, that's just lame. Like, put it back in the neighborhood. And anyways, it's another story. But so yeah, dude flips. So what does it look like, right? What does that look like when an individual flips? And to be clear, he had priors, right? One last point. He had priors for issues with females. This dude Drifter, before he ends the life of young Haley, right? As far back as 1998, South San Francisco police have responded to 609 First Lane on the report of a disturbance. Tanachi was involved in an argument with a female victim. Argument escalated when Tanachi stabbed the female in her knee with a knife. He was with an individual who's a validated C Street Norteno and an individual who's a validated 500 Block Norteno. I'm not going to put their names out there. Prior to the incident, a witness saw Tanachi involved in an altercation with the female victim. He also wrote SSF 5B on the wall of her house. So there's that. But there's not only that. Also in San Bruno in 2006, Tanachi was involved in a physical altercation with a female victim. She's a different one. During the altercation, he pointed a banger at her. And 500 Block South City, another unknown subject associated with him struck the victim with a glass bottle. He was in the company of several 500 Block members. If I remember right, I think that was at a party, like a graduation party or some shit at a hotel in San Bruno. But anyway, so he has a history of getting violent with females, um, and just being violent in general. He anyway. Let's get to this paperwork. Let's go. I don't want to make this video last forever, but so here we go. Close this out. I'll move this over here. So Todd Tanachi, U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of California, entered into this written plea agreement pursuant to all these different rules. I'm not going to read this whole agreement, right? But he's agreeing to waive his right to a grand jury, and he's pleading out to two things, right? Count one is that he agreed to conduct or participate directly or indirectly in the conduct of affairs of an enterprise charging the information, i.e. the 500 block South City or 500 block C Street gang, through a pattern of racketeering activity, and a conspirator would commit at least two acts. And then count two is that he possessed, used, discharged a firearm in furtherance of criminal violence. And he just kind of made reference to stuff that he was involved in before. And of course, he was facing life on both of those charges. And of course, he didn't get it. And the reason that he didn't get it is because he pled guilty and agrees that the following facts are true. I'm not going to read through all of this. It's just standard stuff. Whenever they indict a gang by the feds, they have a narrative that they push, right? This is how this gang started, blah, blah, blah. So this is, hey, 500 block, and they're part of the Nuestra Familia conspiracy, and yeah. But there's an interesting part down here, right? I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. Let me see. There you go. In or about April 2007, while I was imprisoned, I was embraced, i.e. promoted, by members of the Northern Structure, i.e. Norteno lieutenants of the NF. Get the fuck out of here. And a member of the NF, and became an acting C, or acting carnal, like carnophagus, with supervisory responsibilities over Norteno gang members. So I'm not trying to get too much into the NF business, but let me say this. You don't act, okay? And I'm leaving this in because I got another audio clip I want to play, so stay tuned. But there's no acting way. You don't. Either you are or you're not. And this is not the first person who has presented this concept of, I'm an acting NF member. Like, the fuck? That's not how it works, people. And the reason I point that out is not just to kind of mock his little egocentric ass, but also the feds know this, okay? The feds know more how these organizations work than most people in the organizations, if we're just being honest. Because people talk, people tell, they intercept communications, da. They do their indictments, but they do their indictments when they feel like it. I think they get information probably on a constant basis. And you'd be crazy to think that probably with every major criminal organization, there's somebody in that organization that is communicating with the federal government probably every day. Every day there's somebody that's in their pocket or whatever. He just ain't flipped yet or whatever the case may be, or she or whatever. So, but we know that, right? We know that's a part of the lifestyle. That's why one of the reasons I encourage people not to be in the lifestyle. This is an example, right, of how over communication between criminals can get you caught up. Let's say everybody in that car that day was solid, quote unquote. Everybody was with the business. Wasn't nobody going, none of us telling, keep it real. Okay, but you got some politics at play. You just knocked down a bunch of Northerners, and you're Northerners. You can't do that in 2010, right? 2011. Say 1989, Holmes, right? So you got to talk to somebody. You got to talk to somebody to try to smooth things over. Make sure you don't get whacked in the county. What happens when you talk to somebody? That person might talk to the feds. But you can't help it. What if you don't talk to that person? Well, then nobody's going to smooth it over, and you're for sure going to get blasted. Like, you're in a catch-22. This lifestyle presents you with so many crossroads where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Which is why, again, I encourage people, pick a whole different path, Holmes. Pick a whole different path. Find your off-ramp, a respectable one where you're like, look, I'm just going to move along over here and take that road. Otherwise, you find yourself in these situations. So So he was not an acting C, and the feds know that, but they allowed him to say that because it helped their case. So they're not going to correct him, and be like, man, that's not how it works. And there actually is, there's more I could say, but I'll leave it at that for now. So let's scroll on. What does he agree to do? And this is a trip to me, right? I give up my rights to, if I would have gone to trial, I'm not going to appeal my conviction. I'm not going to file any collateral stuff. I know you're going to sentence me according to sentencing guidelines, but the, federal government can ask the downward departure and all this other stuff, which there's different language there. So not all downward departures are somebody is snitching, but this, what it says. Pay restitution. I agree to cooperate with this office before and after I am sentenced. My cooperation shall include, but is not limited to, the following obligations. And I think this is probably pretty standard. Right? There's some people on YouTube who could confirm if it is or it isn't, but I think that is pretty standard. I agree to cooperate with this office before and after I'm sentenced. My cooperation shall include, but is not limited to, the following obligations. I shall truthfully, where's my little cursor cross thing? I shall truthfully and completely disclose all information with respect to the activities of myself and others concerning all matters about which this office inquires of me, which information can be used for any purpose. I shall truthfully testify before the grand jury and at any trial and any other court proceeding with respect to any matters about which this office may request my testimony. I shall bring to this office's attention any and all crimes that I have committed and any and all administrative, civil, or criminal proceedings, investigations, or prosecutions in which I have been or am a subject, target, party, or witness. I shall commit no crimes, further crimes whatsoever. I shall provide all documents and other materials asked for by this office. I shall surrender any and all assets acquired or obtained directly or indirectly as a result of my illegal conduct. I shall consent to continuances of my sentencing date as necessary until my cooperation is completed. So you wonder why sometimes, like, somebody might sit in the county and just wait, and they're just testifying trial after trial after trial after trial after trial. It's apparently that's part of the agreement, right? Like, you're just going to continue out your own sentencing until they're done, until they've squeezed out of you everything they feel like. And then now it's your turn, right? And I'm assuming the more hoops you jump through and the better you do, the better your sentence is going to be when you're done, telling on everybody. I shall consent to continuances of my sentence. Oh, I said that. I shall attend all meetings at which this office requests my presence. So one of the things I want to highlight is I shall bring to this office's attention any and all crimes that I have committed. That plays into another video that I'm going to be doing soon, maybe this week, probably next. It's crazy to me, man. Like, okay, this dude did what he did, right? For whatever reasons, he was on drugs. Apparently, his old lady left him. He was stranded or something, or he was worried his old lady was stranded. So he's like, "Hey, can you give my girl a hotel?" Like, motherfucker, they get you a whole new identity and move you to, Oklahoma or whatever. But I will never understand these dudes that decide for their own reasons. And everybody has to make their own choices in life for themselves and walk their own path. And so I'm not saying that necessarily with judgment, but like, fool, you are all the way out the game, right? You made a decision today to cooperate with the federal government, snitch on your whole hood, snitch on your peers. You're supposed to be snitching on yourself too. All the shit that you've done. He did tell them about a lot of stuff that he's done. That's how he got the whole gun thing. Because they're like, oh, he's like, back in, 98, there was a shooting in San Bruno. I hit a Southsider, so assuming he told all of his stuff. And then you go back to the criminal world. Like, I don't know if it's guilt, that like they feel bad for what they did. They haven't made amends with themselves. So they feel the need to self-medicate, or like this need to still be that guy. So they just move somewhere else to go be that guy. In this case, he came out to Reno. I don't know if he was running around with Northerners in the streets of Reno. I live out here, but I ain't tapped in like that. And that's on purpose. I don't really give a fuck what gangs do. But so I don't know how he was presenting himself. Clearly he got a lot more tattoos, and some of them 500s and shit were covered, and the 5 he had on his chin and all that. So I mean, I don't know what he was doing, but he winds up in this hotel room with these addicts, gotta assume everybody's under the influence because it's one of those hotels. You guys already know how they work, man. It's one of those hotels where everybody there you assume is either under the influence or trying to be. You know, that's not where families go to raise their kids. Or maybe just getting out of jail or something, like you get a little voucher, you know, maybe. And they're tossing a gun back and forth. Apparently. They're throwing a gun around. Tweakers. Here, catch this. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose is, but they're throwing a gun around and the gun gets thrown to him and he catches it and it shoots. And it hits this poor young lady in the head. She loses her life. Everybody's like, oh shit. But there's cameras in the hallway. So they chop up her body to put it in a bag. It's crazy. So, how you find yourself in that situation? Like, you had your chance at a new life. You know, I talk to people all the time. They're like, bro, I'm in the mix. I don't want to be, but there's no off ramp. And I'm not doing the unthinkable. You know, I ain't go tell, I ain't go this, I ain't go that. And okay, cool, I get that. But they're looking for their chance, though, you know? And here's this dude's chance. And yet you go back to these activities. And the other thing is, here's a chance to clean your slate. And that's where I'm going to pick up on another video at some point soon. Because you got a lot of folks catching cold cases that's like, fool, why didn't you do that before? But anyway, so I'm not going to go through the rest of his paperwork. But he, you know, he told, he came to Reno, he was strung out on drugs, and he wound up ending the life of this young girl. And it's sad. So let's jump back over here real quick. Let's listen to this, and then I'll end this. We're going to listen to this video out of Midland, Texas. Because it is a sad situation, and I want to extend my condolences to the girl's family. Here we go.
West 9 at 6, we begin with the arrest of a murder suspect in Midland. He's accused of killing a young mom in Reno, Nevada. The 18-year-old, the mother of 2 little girls. Today, Rachel Robinson spoke to that teen's mother. Rachel, I know this has got to be devastating. What do we know about the mom?
Yeah, Crystal, that's right. Her name is Haley Nieto, and she leaves behind 2 children, a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old. Her mother tells me she is grateful the man who hurt her daughter was arrested here in Texas, and thanks everyone who helped get him behind bars. On March 23rd, Haley Nieto was found shot in the head on a dirt road near Reno, Nevada, her hometown. Haley was only 18 years old. She was an artist who loved makeup, camping, music, and fashion. She was also the mom to 2 little girls, a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old, named Luna and Mila. On Tuesday, this man, Todd Tanachi, was charged and arrested for her murder at a motel in Midland with the help of the Midland County Sheriff's Office, U.S. Marshals, and DPS. People Haley's mom is thankful for.
We're grateful for the Midland, Texas SWAT, the Sheriff's Department there, the U.S. Marshals, and any other agencies that got the suspect, and for risking their safety and their lives for our daughter, for her justice, and for the wives and just the families of all of these law enforcement, also for these guys putting their neck on the line to get this scumbag.
Tanachi is now sitting in the Midland County Jail with no bond, waiting to be extradited back to Nevada. Haley's.
Okay. And on that note, man, help others move with excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. And stay tuned. I told you I'm dropping content every day this month. That's my word. Palabra, homes. Shout out to all one. All right, you guys. Have a good one.